This is Brian, our IT expert. We have a rope light week going. Today we're going to troubleshoot a few problems. One essential problem with a couple different answers. So I'm going to let Brian take it away.
Okay. Well, one of the questions we get, we'll get a call and they'll say, you know, my rope light's been up for a couple of years now. It's been turning on every single night. It works great. And then all of a sudden, tonight, nothing came on. Whole thing went dead. So, well, first thing we ask them is, how's their outlet? So do they have 120 volts going to their outlet? Did their GFI pop or something like that, breaker pop? Just make sure that they have 120 volt. 90% of the time, yep, everything's good, they have 120 volt, we know it's good. So the next thing that comes to our mind is the cord must have went out. Usually the weakest link in the cord is the rectifier. This here is the rectifier. This just converts AC to DC. It's typically the weak link. So if your entire rope light went out, it's something to do with either 120 volt, the rectifier, or where your cord connects to the rope light. So we can start with a couple choices. So the first thing I'm going to ask them is, would they like to try to replace the cord, the power cord? And if they want to do that, then we'll hook them up with a new power cord, basically. And there's a couple things that they can do. So we've talked about it before, but this isn't a factory cord. However, I think, Tom, you have one right there, right? These factory cords are extremely difficult to remove. They're glued on. They are a nightmare. You do not want to try it.
Yeah. They're molded. The difference is these are molded. These are shrink wrapped into place, or it's glued in with silicone.
Right. So you do not want to try to remove the cord from the beginning of the rope. So I always say you have two choices. Just go up to your first cut mark, cut the rope light there, and reinstall a new power cord, which sometimes that's not a very good option. If they have it, you know, starting perfect on their eave, and that's exactly, they need that 30 inches, not a great option.
And then if you're looking at this and it's not discolored, or there's no burn marks, or there's, you know, it's got wear and tear like the rest of your rope light, but you don't see that there's a definite problem right here. And I believe the easiest way to find out if this is bad is once you get it rolling again, just give it a movement. If you give it a movement and this blinks, then odds are could have something wrong with this connection. But
there you go.
If it was never flickering or anything, it just didn't come on, like you said, you got a really good chance that it's this. So instead of, like we've been showing all week, how to cut and add splice connectors, end caps, whatever, you're going to show them how to replace the rectifier.
Exactly.
Okay. Yep. All right. Well, that makes sense.
So, like you said, if you don't want to cut it here, and removing this here is not an option, and it looks like it's in great shape, then what I usually recommend is just cutting this cord off anywhere you want on this end, and actually splicing a new cord to it. So this is a new cord. This is an old cord. I'm just going to cut it off. This might work. Cut it off anywhere.
So behind the rectifier, of course.
So just discard this part here, and now I want this part. Okay, throw this part away. This is the next one here. What we are going to use is this IP68 micro splice connector. So we're just going to stick one end. This is going to go on one end. You got a whole bunch of, you need to go only about, let me show you. Only about that much. Okay, about that right there. So,
what do you want, about half? Quarter inch?
A little more than a quarter inch. I need to double it back, basically. Oh, do we have a little screwdriver, hopefully? I might have to get a little smaller screwdriver. Yep. Okay, so if you strip that back a little more than a quarter inch, I'll be right back. Let me grab a smaller number 1.
So use the number 1 screwdriver, and I thought I grabbed one, but I grabbed the the awl instead. As you can tell, this has small little feeds on both sides, completely waterproof. So there's your splice hub. There is a sealed compression fin on both sides of it, so IP68. And they just have a small screwdriver. So I came down about 3/8 of an inch, a little over 1/4 of an inch, and then I'm going to double back the plug.
So ideally, if you could solder that or tin that, that would be the ideal situation. But if you double it back, that'll work real nice too. All right.
And I'll prep your next side while you're doing that. How's that sound? So this video is an 18
minutes long.
They love us, but I don't think they love us that much.
Yeah.
So you start out by putting the nut of the compression, like all compression fittings,
Yeah.
right?
Get the compression fitting on first. Next step. Now this does have kind of a, not that it matters too much, but it does have a common and neutral lug. So the darker, brassier looking lug would be your common, and we'll put the neutral on the other side. Now there's a couple different IP68 type of connectors like this. This one only has 2 wires, which that's all we need. And you'll see them with 3, so they're set up to where you can put a ground on it.
Tom, what do you mean by double back on your wiring?
Well, as you can tell, so what I did was, I'll redo this one in front of the camera. Okay, so basically, you can see the copper part of that wire. Not the black, but the copper part. That is what's conducting all your electricity. It's about 3/8 of an inch thick, and I didn't measure anything, I just eyeballed it. As you can tell, the other one's a lot shorter and a lot thicker, correct? The white one. So if you look at the white one, it's a lot shorter, it's a lot thicker. All I'm doing is taking my thumbnail, going about, doubling it back on itself, and squeezing it together. What it's doing is, like Brian said, if you ever buy something new and you're splicing it and it has a little, looks like solder, they actually have a little tub of solder and they just tin it out, it stays together. All I'm doing like this is doubling the wire size, so when he inserts it into the fitting, it has more to grab to, and basically just makes a better bond. The thicker your wire, the better your passage of electricity. So it just makes it
I don't want this to pull out. So I wanted to build up a little bit more material, so when you put it inside the holes there, it doesn't pull out. So that's all. So now I'm going to attach to the other side. Just go first.
right. So you start with a compression nut, and this has got a compression fitting, as you can see. So what's going to happen is once you get it set, you get it all done, and you put them together, screw them together tight, you'll take that outside nut and crank it down, and what it'll do is actually take and squeeze on the wire, and that will make it IP68.
So I'm going to just line up. I know what lug I have the black wire on. I know which wire I have the white lug on. And I'm just going to line them up here, make them the same.
Can I hold some, or you got it?
I think I got her. Tighten it down. Oops, I got better stay in there. So this is pretty much done. It's just a matter of tightening up the compression fittings.
So you adapt the compression fitting part of it first, then you run the nut on it to tighten it down
Just
onto its.
Squeezing it around that wire, keeping it watertight. Okay. So that'll make a nice waterproof electrical connection. And so we just did that in just a few minutes, never had to cut our rope light.
Never had to take it down if you have enough room on the thing.
Hopefully it lights up.
Right. Hopefully it lights up. Hopefully.
There we
Now,
go.
what I was talking about is if you get it running and you test it here and you're not getting any flashing, then you know you have it right. Okay, it was the we have people that you know they'll get the rope light and they'll have a 6-foot cord on it, not a 2-foot cord, and they'll say, "Wow, it's so long. What do I do?" Well, obviously you can roll it up and tin it together and hide it. But if you don't have the room to do that, this is another great part to do that. You could literally make it shorter by just cutting it here, splice everything tighter if you want to.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of work for that myself, but
There's also, I love using these. I think they're a great, it's a great little junction. I have a lot of people who have older homes who've ran hundreds of feet of incandescent rope light in their house, and the cords go right down into their walls.
oh, so they're behind their crown or
It's
something,
behind
right?
the crown, the cord literally just pops out of their wall just a little bit, and their cord goes down, and they don't want to rip those out, but yet they want to upgrade their incandescent into LED. This is what I tell them. I was like, well, take the end of your incandescent power cord, cut it off, and let's attach a rectifier to it.
Yeah, you could buy a roll of rope light, and literally, this is a brand new roll, still got plastic on it. You could go, okay, you want to do that? You've got a feed coming out, cut it off, use a IP68, and you're done. You're ready to rock. This has got to be on with LED.
Yep.
Doesn't mean you can't put it on an old power cord.
Exactly. It's a nice little way to make a connection, and that's how you can go from incandescent to LED rope light, or that's how you can change out your rope light cord. And that's all we got for today.
So
Okay.
the rope light power cords have a fuse hidden in the plug, like string lights?
Some do and some don't. That is 100% true. That one there does. This 6-footer here that I cut up, this one does not have a fuse in it, but this does. So it depends on the manufacturer of the cord.
So if
And the year of the rope light. Go ahead, sorry.
so if it goes out, then it's the rectifier?
That is a good
Good point.
good point. Check the fuse first. If the plug has a fuse, check to make sure that's not blown.
And it's real. That one is easier for me to move. So, in reality, it is manufacturer and it is ETL. I think about 2 years ago, ETL started asking for an inline fuse on the rope light product. That's why it's either some manufacturers haven't updated their ETL, or it's an older rope light, right? And once it's made and has this, then it's still okay. But to produce it as of 2 years ago, so if I made a bunch of rope light 3 years ago,
They may not have it.
they'll just have a regular plug on it, and it's still good. It still passes ETL, and it's still good to go. But if I manufacture today, I have to have a fuse on it. So that's a good point. Thank you very much for that comment. That's a great comment. 3 points to check. 1, 2, and 3 now. If it's a newer thing. You did say your rope light was a couple years old, so you would have had that type of plug.
More likely.
The other part of it is, just to answer a question real quick that I know should have came in and it hasn't yet. Let's say you do have that 2-year-old, and this does look bad and just doesn't look good. What we would recommend doing is, you would buy a power cord, a matching rope light, 3-foot section, 20 or 30-inch section, and you replace it. May not be exactly the same color, but you wouldn't lose that length. And then you would do like we did yesterday with splash connections.
I agree.
Okay.